Hello students, welcome to our channel Physics class. Today we'll study about alternating current. Alternating current is all of us familiar with. Whatever we get in our home, we use all in the electrical appliances is all electrical current. That is an alternating current. So we all use alternating current. So that is an interesting thing, and this is basically a current. And the current is given in physics by the flow of charge. So this is a current which is an electric current, but this is alternating. So if I draw an axis, then it will go positive, negative, and so on. So as you see that this is a sinusoidally varying current. So we call it an alternating current, because you can say that it may vary as a sine wave or it may vary as a cos wave, because for sine theta most of the students, they are not much familiar with the word sinusoidal. Sinusoidal means in the form of a sine wave, but it also includes a cos wave. So as you can see here, it starts from 0, then it goes up to maximum here, maximum amplitude, then it becomes 0 here, and here it reaches to the maximum negative amplitude. So that is how what is a sine wave is. So alternating current may vary as a sine wave or it may vary as a cos wave. So what is the basic difference between a sine wave and a cos wave? This one is a sine wave. If it is starting from 0, getting maximum, again getting 0, and again maximum negative, then we call it as a sine wave. But whatever I am drawing with the green color is a cos wave. So again I take an axis and cos wave, because at the angle 0 it has a maximum value 1. So it starts from the maximum value, get 0, then maximum negative, and again 0, and continues like this. So whenever you see a waveform like this, that is a cos wave, and the blue color you can see is a sine wave. So either it is a sine wave or a cos wave. In combination, we call this variation as a sinusoidal wave. So all the alternating current are represented with the sinusoidal wave. So we are having a current, basically a current which is given by a small I symbol, formula is dq by dt, and the variation of this current is sinusoidal. So that is what an alternating current is. So let us start from the easiest thing, that what is the importance of AC current? So let us go to the importance. First of all, whatever the electrical energy we are using, that it is transmitted and distributed as AC current. So whatever is the electrical energy, even we use it at our home, it is transmitted. We see that this electrical energy we use at our home, it comes from the powerhouse through the electrical power wires. And these power wires, you can see these electrical wires, these are used for the transmission, and then it is distributed to different places. So this distribution and transmission is always done in the form of an alternating current. So the electrical energy we use, it can be transmitted to long distance economically. So what do we mean by economically? That means if we are transferring the electrical power in the form of alternating current, then there is very less power loss. So we call as it is transferred or transmitted to a long distance in an economical way. Third importance of AC current is that most of the electrical devices, they only uses alternating current. It may be any of the home appliances you use, like your refrigerator or your AC, whatever you use, or your electrical iron, whatever you use, they always use alternating current. Now when the alternating current is transmitted through the power wires or through the electrical wires, then they are at the high voltage, but such high voltage cannot be used in a commercial use at our home. So we need to convert them to the low voltage, or whenever they are transmitted, then they are converted from low to high voltage, and when they reach to our home, then they are converted from high voltage to low voltage. So these alternating current can be easily and efficiently converted from one voltage to other, that is from high to low or low to high, using the transformers. So that is again an important application of AC current. So these are the 4 important points of the alternating current. What is the useful application and what is the importance of alternating current? So if you want, you can take a screenshot of this, but this is very easy and that is what we use in our daily life. So now we will study some physics about the alternating current, how the alternating current behaves. Because we will use an alternating current source and we use different electrical components. Electrical components we know, like we can use the resistance. Resistance is an electrical component, or we can use inductor, or we can use a capacitor. So let us see how the alternating current source behave with all these resistors, inductors and capacitors. So let us go to the first thing, that is the easiest thing is resistor. So if we use an alternating voltage source and a resistor, how it behaves. So this is our voltage source because it's the alternating current source. So we are using the symbol for AC current. So this is the AC voltage we are representing with the symbol E. And this AC voltage is to be connected to a resistor R. So that is how we draw R, the resistance. So this is the resistance R. So we want to know that if you are using alternating current source, then how the resistor behaves with it. So this is our alternating voltage. So it will vary sinusoidally. So we can write down this AC voltage as, so our AC voltage may simply be written as, we are using the symbol V for this alternating voltage, so it can go up to the maximum and it will vary as sinusoidal. So omega is angular frequency, T is the time. That means our voltage is varying sinusoidally with angular frequency with respect to time. So this is the equation for the voltage which is varying sinusoidally. And which voltage varies sinusoidally? AC voltage. So whenever you are using AC voltage, always use this form in form of sine. So what is Vm? Vm is the amplitude of oscillating voltage. This is oscillating voltage which is varying sinusoidally. So this is the maximum amplitude of voltage, and omega is the angular frequency. So now we have a closed circuit. So simply because we are studying electrical circuit, so we can use our very familiar Kirchhoff's law. I hope you are familiar with Kirchhoff's law. If you have not gone through it, just revise it. The link I have given in the description box below this lecture. You can go to the Kirchhoff's law. There are only two laws which are very easy and which can be used for any of the circuit. So we can use Kirchhoff's law. But for now, we can write down the Kirchhoff loop rule because this is a closed loop. So we can write down a Kirchhoff loop rule. So here the voltage is Vm sine omega t, and then the current is flowing from this. So minus IR is equal to 0, right? We are going from here to here. So there is a voltage drop across the resistance. So whenever we have a resistance, there is a voltage drop. So because there is a voltage drop, so we have taken the negative sign. So that voltage which is getting from the source is Vm sine omega t, and the voltage dropped into resistance is IR. So whatever is reduced from the voltage is minus IR. So Vm sine omega t minus IR is equal to 0 because we have only two components. This is the voltage source, this is the voltage drop in resistance. So this is equal to 0. Or you can write down IR is equal to Vm sine omega t. So if we calculate current I from here, then it comes out to be Vm sine omega t upon R. This simply I is equal to V upon R, Ohm's law, but this voltage is AC voltage, so Vm sine omega t upon R. Now this quantity Vm upon R we can write down as maximum current, Im sine omega t, where this Im is equal to Vm upon R. We have substituted this maximum voltage upon R as maximum current. So I is equal to Im sine omega t. So this is again the Ohm's law, I is equal to V upon R or V is equal to IR. So this is simply Ohm's law. This should be your favorite law because it's the easiest law in physics, Ohm's law, and whenever you are studying electrical circuits, then this is a very important law. This is short, sweet and simple. So I is equal to Im sine omega t, and Im is equal to Vm upon R. R is a constant, that is the resistance. So we can conclude that the voltage and current are in the same phase. That means if our current is varying sinusoidally, then the voltage will also vary sinusoidally, and they are in the same phase because Im is equal to Vm upon R. So we will draw. We will draw a graph first for the voltage, then for the current. So say this is our voltage which is varying sinusoidally. So you can see there is a sine wave. It starts from 0, gets maximum again 0, maximum negative 0, maximum positive and again 0. So this is our maximum voltage Vm. Right? This is Vm maximum voltage. Then here if it is 0, then here pi by 2, here pi, here 3 pi by 2, here 2 pi, here 5 pi by 2 and here 3 pi. And on the x-axis we have omega t, and here first we are using voltage, and because Im is equal to Vm upon R, R is a constant, so whatever is the phase of Vm, the similar will be the phase of Im. So whatever is the phase of voltage will be the same phase of the current. So now we can draw current also. So if we draw current, then you can see Im is equal to Vm upon R. That means the maximum of Im will be less than Vm because Vm is divided with R. So Im will always be small than Vm. But they are in the same phase because there is not any relation. These two are in the same phase. R is a constant. So you can draw it like this. It starts from 0 only, then goes up to the maximum, then it comes to 0. Then again get maximum for negative. Then it gets like this. So this you can say is our Im. This is the maximum value of current. So this is Im. So here Im is less than Vm because Im is equal to Vm upon R. So both our applied voltage Vm sin omega t and the current, they are varying sinusoidally. So if you take the sum of one cycle starts from 0 to 2 pi. That is one complete cycle, because if you start from a point and then you go complete cycle and come to the same point, that means it is 2 pi or 360 degree. So our one cycle will start from 0 and it will end up at 2 pi. So if you take for example, if you say for the voltage, we take from 0 to pi, that is plus, and pi to 2 pi is similar minus. So this plus and this minus total will be 0 for the blue graph. Now come to the green graph. This is for current. So if you take from 0 to pi, that is the positive value of current, and from pi to 2 pi, similar negative value of current. So the sum of current from 0 to 2 pi will be 0. So we can say that the sum of instantaneous current values over one complete cycle is 0, and similarly average current is also 0. Right? So now we can also calculate the power, because power consumed P is given by I square R. So the average current is 0, but if you take the square of this is positive, and if you take the square of this, then it will always be positive, because if you take the square of any negative quantity, that means the negative quantity multiply with itself, so minus minus makes a plus. So whenever you take the square of I, it will always be positive. So the power consumed is not equal to 0. So this P is equal to I square is not equal to 0. So this is also, the Joule heating is also given by the same value, P is equal to I square R. So there is also a Joule heating produced, and Joule heating is simply the dissipation of electrical energy. Whatever is the electrical energy, it is coming out, it is getting out in the form of heat energy. So whenever our alternating current passes through a resistance, then there is a Joule heating and the dissipation of electrical energy. So if you want to write down this P is equal to I square R, put the value of I is equal to Im sin omega t. So this P is equal to Im square sin square t, and R is also there. So Im square R sin square omega t. So this is P. So now we want to take the average of this power P over a complete cycle. We have taken the average for the voltage. It comes out to be 0 because similar plus and minus makes 0. We have taken the average for current because similar plus and minus for the green graph makes a 0. Now we want to take the average of this power P. So for the average we use a symbol, we put a bar over the power. So this shows the average. So take the average of this. Im square is constant. R is also a constant. The only varying quantity is sine square omega t, because sine means it is changing as a sine wave. So you have to take the average of sine square omega t. So this we can write down as, this is very simple, but just pay attention to each step. So this is constant, Im square R is constant. Now sine square theta may be written as 1 minus cos 2 theta, right? So this may be written as, because the formula is 2 sine square theta is equal to 1 minus cos 2 theta. That is our algebraic formula. So you can use this formula, this is sine square omega t, that means sine square theta. So this may be written as 1 minus cos 2 theta upon 2. So again 2 upon 2 is we have taken outside. Then this is 1 minus an average of cos 2 omega t. Right? We have used this formula in the equation, and this is the equation we are getting. So the average of power will be Im square R 1 upon 2. Then this is 1 minus 0. Because if you take any cos wave, then for the cos wave also, for a complete cycle, you take the average and it is also 0 always. So we get the average value of power P is equal to half Im square R. So whenever you are giving the AC current, the AC voltage to any of the resistance, then power, the average of power is half Im square R. So this is the average. Now we want to take the root mean square value of the current. Now first understand the value of root mean square. It is very easy. This is the current, and what you want to take? Root mean square. If you understand, if you remember this word, that means you know what is RMS. Because I is the current, then this is root mean square. So what you have to do? You have to take the root, you have to take the mean, and you have to take the square. So whatever is the easiest is square. So that means we have I, we have to do the square. So this is square. We know how to do the square. Then you have to take the mean. You know how to take the mean. We just put a bar over this. So this is average. Now root. We know how to take the under root. So that means this is root mean square. So this is I RMS. This is root mean square of the current I. So this will be written as root and I square. The mean of I square is, we have just calculated, this is equal to half Im square. Right? We have just calculated the mean of I square. So the mean of I square is half Im square. To put the value half Im square. So this is equal to, if you take the under root of 1 upon 2. So this is 1 upon under root 2. And for Im, this is square and root. So this is Im. So that means the root mean square value of current is equal to Im upon root 2. Similarly, we can take the voltage, root mean square value of the voltage. So this is again under root average of the voltage, because these are in the same phase. So this will again be Vm upon root 2. Now we know the value of root is 1 upon, we know the value of under root 2 is 1.414. Or if you take 1 upon 1.414, then it is 0.707. So this is 0.707 Im. That means root mean square is always less than the maximum value. Similarly, if you calculate the V root mean square, the voltage root mean square voltage, then it is again 0.707 of the maximum voltage. That means if you take the root mean square of either the current or the voltage, it is always less than the maximum value. And again use the Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. So this is IMR upon root 2. So if you compare this, our IRMS is 1 upon root 2 Im and VRMS is Im upon root 2 R. So that means VRMS is equal to IRMS into R. That means the root mean square value of the voltage and current also follows the Ohm's law. Vrms is equal to Irms R. Because why we are calculating these root mean square values? Because whenever you are using the alternating current, always remember this thing. This is very important, that whenever you are using alternating current, then we use the root mean square value as the effective current and effective voltage. So make this a note, that whenever you are using AC current or AC voltage, then the effective current or effective voltage is always the root mean square value. That means if you want to calculate the effective current, then use Irms. If you want to use the effective voltage, then use Vrms. Because for example, you can say that in our household, we use the voltage and we all know the value of voltage. That what is the voltage coming to our home is, how much voltage? Yes, right, it is 220 volts. So whatever the voltage we are getting at our home is 220 volts. And you know what this 220 voltage is? This is V or Vm or Vrms. It is always Vrms because that is the effective value what we are using. So Vrms of the AC that is coming to our home, alternating current that is coming to our home is always 220 volts. From this you can calculate the maximum voltage we can get, because Vrms is equal to Vm upon root 2. So if you want to calculate Vm, you can multiply it with root 2. So maximum voltage is the root mean square value multiplied with root 2, because maximum voltage is always higher than root mean square value. So this is 220 and root 2 is, we all know, 1.414. So this is equal to 311 volts. So whatever is the voltage that comes to our home can have the maximum value of 300 volts. But whatever we say 220 volts is the root mean square value. And the power dissipated is always root mean square voltage into root mean square current. Right? Now, next important thing we are going to do for all this AC current is phasor. So let us see what phasor is. It is very easy. So let us do phasors. Now, what are these phasors? Now, what are these phasors? These phasors are nothing but these are rotating vectors. Rotating vectors for what? For our AC current and AC voltage. So we will represent our AC current and AC voltage using the rotating vector, and this we call as phasor. We have to only draw the rotating vector for the AC current and for the AC voltage. So let us draw. And first we draw and then we will come to know what is all is happening. So we draw a coordinate system, 2D coordinate system like this. So first of all we draw the voltage. We have drawn the voltage with the blue color. So similarly draw it from 0 to pi. We know how to draw 0 to pi. It goes up to maximum and then it comes to 0. Then from pi to 2 pi again it goes to the maximum negative and then it comes to 0. So if this is 0, this is pi and this is 2 pi, complete cycle. And after this it will go on repeating, right? So this is our voltage. So we can say that this is our voltage. And now we want to draw for current. So current is also in the same phase. If we are going for the resistance or the resistor, then it is also in the same phase, but this is somewhat less. So it goes up like this. Then comes to 0. Again it goes maximum negative, then it comes to 0. And again it increases. So that is our current. No problem till now. We have done this already, so it is clear. And here on the x-axis we have omega t or theta, omega t. So this is theta 0, pi, 2 pi, and here we are having voltage or current. So this is the magnitude of I. So we draw a horizontal line for this current I. So this is our current I and this is our voltage V. Right? So just draw a vector. This is our I. It goes up like this up to here. So this is our I. Current. And in the same phase we have the voltage. कौन भाग रहा? किसी के भागने गई. And this is the voltage, right? So this is I and this is V. दोनों उड़ गई. So this is Vm sin omega t. This shows the voltage up to here. Arif John unu ro rahi hai. Arif unu ro rahi hai jo. This is Im sin omega t and we take at any time t1, so make it as t1. So this is Vm sin omega t1 and this is Im sin omega t1. And when we are, as the time passes by, they are going, but they are always going in the same phase. So this is the phasor. So we just studied that the AC current and the voltage through a resistor are in the same phase. So we want to show a phase relationship between the voltage and current. So we draw the rotating vectors. This we call as a phasor. So phasor is a vector which rotates about the origin with the angular speed omega. So we have the vertical component of phasors. V and I represent the sinusoidally varying quantities V and I. So if you see this capital I, it shows the sinusoidally varying current. And if you see the capital V in blue color, that shows the sinusoidally varying voltage. And the magnitudes of phasor V and I represents the amplitude or peak value Vm and Im of these oscillating quantities. So this V is equal to Vm and I is equal to Im, the maximum values of current and voltage. Sure. So if this time we say that this time is T1. So if the voltage and the current are in the same phase, then we show the amplitude. This is the Im sin omega t1 and this is Vm sin omega t1. And these shows the rotating vectors as phasors. At any time t1, this is the voltage and this is the current. So this is how we draw the phasor. Now we'll apply AC voltage to any of the inductor. So here we are applying AC voltage to an inductor, that is a pure inductor. So the voltage is V is equal to Vm sin omega t. And there is a closed loop, so we can simply use Kirchhoff's loop rule. So from Kirchhoff's loop rule, we have V, that is Vm sin omega t, minus L di upon dt is equal to 0, because there is again a voltage loss across the inductor. And it is the voltage is given by L di upon dt. So V minus L di upon dt is equal to 0 because there is a self-inductance. Here L is the self-inductance and di upon dt. So this is the equation we get from the Kirchhoff's loop rule. So you know that from this equation we want to calculate the I. So we can know the phase relation between the current and the voltage. So we do not have I here. We first can calculate di upon dt. So di upon dt is equal to V upon L. And V is equal to Vm sin omega t upon L. So you can write on V or Vm sin omega t is one and the same thing. Now if you want to calculate I, then you have to remove this differentiation, and to remove the differentiation we do the opposite, that is integration. So we have to integrate it with respect to t. So after integration we get I is equal to minus Vm cos omega t upon omega. And L is already there because the integration of sine omega t is minus cos omega t upon omega. And L is already there. So I is equal to minus Vm cos omega t upon omega L. And because this is an integration, so after integration we always have a constant. So this is the value of I we are getting. Now here we are having cos omega t and we want to convert it to sine omega t because our voltage is in sine. So if we are having minus cos omega t, then according to the trigonometric function, the minus cos omega t is always sine omega t minus pi by 2. Because sine omega t minus pi by 2 will always give you minus cos omega t. So instead of minus cos omega t, we can write down sine omega t minus pi by 2. So our I may be written as Vm upon omega L, and this minus cos omega t is sine omega t minus pi by 2. What we have done? Instead of minus cos omega t, we have written sine omega t minus pi by 2. And this whole quantity Vm upon omega L, we can write down the maximum value of current. So this is maximum value of current. I am sine omega t minus pi by 2. So V is equal to Vm sine omega t and I is equal to Im sine omega t minus pi by 2. That means that the current is behind the voltage. The current is lagging behind. It is going behind. If it is going behind, we call it as lagging. So the current is lagging behind by the voltage by pi by 2. So if you draw a cycle, suppose this is cycle, this is 0 and this is pi. So this is 0, this is pi, this is 2 pi. So how much it is lagging behind? It is lagging behind by pi by 2. So if it is here pi by 2, then how much of the complete cycle? This is the 1/4 of the complete cycle. As you can see, that if you take from 0 to pi by 2, then the 0 to pi by 2 is 1/4 of the complete cycle. That means the current is lagging behind the voltage with pi by 2 or 1/4 of the complete cycle. Clear? Now we have written Im is equal to Vm upon omega L, or Vm is equal to Im omega L. So this is equivalent to Ohm's law. V is equal to IR. So omega L is equal to, so omega L is the equivalent of resistance, because this is a resistance which is not R but it is in the term of conductance L. So we call this resistance as inductive resistance. This is a resistance, but resistance with a inductance. So we call it as inductive resistance. So what is the inductive resistance? Omega L. And R we already used, so we call it as XL. So if you are having a resistor, then the resistance is R. If you are having resistance in the form of inductance, then this is omega L. So this is inductive resistance. This is simple resistance and this is inductive resistance. So here we have inductive resistance XL is equal to omega L. And the unit is again ohm, because this is a resistance, so the unit is always ohm. So if you want to calculate Im from this equation, so the current is equal to Vm upon XL. Same as resistance R we can use. So as we can see that here the current and voltage are not in the same phase. Current is behind the voltage, lagging behind the voltage with the pi by 2. So now we can draw the phasor. Now you can very easily draw the phasor. So what we do in the phasor? Phasor is simply the rotating vectors for the alternating voltage and alternating current. So we want to draw a phasor. So what we do in the phasor? We first draw two axes like this. And here we draw the voltage and the current. So first draw the voltage. First draw the right hand side always in the phasor. So draw the voltage. So the voltage is Vm sine omega t. So simply make a sine wave. Right? So if it is 0, then it is pi, then it is 2 pi, then it is pi by 2 and 3 pi. It goes like this. And here we have, because here is the angle, so that is omega t, theta or omega t. And here we will have voltage or current. So this is voltage. V. This is voltage V. And whatever is the maximum voltage, you have to draw like this. Okay, then we need to draw the current. Now in the resistance, current and voltage were in the same phase. Now it is lagging behind by pi by 2. So that means, where is pi by 2? It is pi by 2. So you have to start from here, pi by 2. So just see the voltage. Where it is at pi by 2? It is maximum. Okay, so at pi by 2 it is maximum. At pi by 2 it is maximum, and at 0 it is 0. So it will be 0 at pi by 2, right? So it will be 0 here. Then it will. Hope are you getting me? Hope you are getting me, because voltage is maximum at pi by 2. At 0 it is 0, at pi by 2 it is maximum. So after pi by 2 it is maximum. So if current is lagging behind, that means after pi by 2 it is still at 0. Right? So it is 0, then it will go like this. So at pi it is 0, so at pi it will be maximum. Then at 3 pi by 2 it is maximum, so 3 pi by 2 it will be 0. At 2 pi it is 0, that means 2 pi it will be maximum. So we can draw it like this, because the magnitude will be less than. So our current will vary like this, and before it will be negative. So that is how, what is our current V. So that is how our current I. So if you draw I, it will be like this. So that is how we have drawn with the, and say at this is any time omega t1, we can take this time as omega t1. So at omega t1, this is V is equal to Vm sin omega t1 and I is equal to Im sin omega t1. And so you make this, then this is, so this is the amplitude of Vm sin omega t1. So this is Vm sin omega t1, and if you take this, or if you take here, then this is Im sin omega t1 minus pi by 2. That is why we have taken it downward, because initially when it is maximum, then it is maximum positive, then it is maximum negative. So that is how we can show. So this is Vm sin omega t1 and this is Im sin omega t1 minus pi by 2. Now if you draw the rotating vectors, then for the voltage, this is V at any time omega t1. This is omega t1. Then I is behind pi by 2. So the angle between V and I should be pi by 2. That means 90 degree. So make a 90 degree angle. So you can see it is 90 degree. So this is I. So whenever you are drawing the rotating vectors, then write on capital V and capital I. And this is a 90 degree angle between these two. So V and I are at an angle of 90 degree and I is lagging behind V with 90 degrees. So that is what is a phasor. So what we see from here, that the current reaches the maximum value later than the voltage by 1/4 of a period. That means after t by 4, after pi by 2 or after t by 4. So t by 4 is pi by 2 upon omega. Or you can say omega t upon 4 is equal to pi by 2. So the current phasor I is pi by 2 behind the voltage phasor V. So now we want to calculate the power at any instant. P. So power at any instant, let us say it is given by PL because it is an inductor. So the power at any instant P is equal to IV is the formula, and I is Im sine omega t minus pi by 2, and V is multiplied with Vm sine omega t. So that is what is the power. And sine omega t minus pi by 2 is always minus cos. This is minus Vm cos omega t and sine omega t. So this is equal to minus Im Vm, and 2 cos theta sine theta as always, that is a trigonometric relation. This is equal to sine 2 theta. So, or cos theta sine theta, so sine 2 theta upon 2. So this is upon 2 and sine 2 omega t. So this is our instantaneous power is equal to minus mvl upon 2 sine 2 omega t, right? Because 2 sine theta cos theta is sine 2 theta. So cos theta sine theta is sine 2 theta upon 2. So what is our power at any instant is equal to minus Im Vm upon 2 sine 2 omega t. And similarly, we can calculate the average power over a complete cycle. So if we take the average of the power, average over a complete cycle, then we take the average of the power, then take the average of whole of this quantity minus Im Vm upon 2 sine 2 omega t. So these are the constant. So this is equal to minus Im Vm upon 2 and only the average over sine 2 omega t, because that is the only varying quantity. Average is always over the varying quantity because these are not changing. Maximum value is fixed, maximum value is fixed, 2 is fixed, 2 is a constant quality. So whatever is varying is sine theta, sine 2 theta. So if you take the average of sine 2 theta, that means over a complete sine cycle, that is always 0. That means the average of the power is always 0. Because sine 2 omega t is 0 over a complete cycle is 0. So the average power supplied to an inductor over one complete cycle is 0. So that is an important relation, that if you are using AC voltage source, then the average power which is applied to an inductor over a complete one cycle is 0. So in this diagram, as you can see, we have shown a complete cycle of this blue shows the voltage. So this is the blue line is the voltage complete cycle, starts from maximum, goes to 0, then again goes to the maximum negative and comes to maximum positive. So from 0 to 1, 2, 3 and 4. So from 0 to 4 it completes a complete one cycle for the voltage. And if you see the green curve, it shows for the current I. It starts from 0, goes up to maximum, then again comes to 0, become maximum negative and again becomes 0. So green shows a complete cycle for the current. So as you can see from this that I is lagging behind with the pi by 2 because V was 0 at 0 and it is 0 at pi by 2. So where V is at pi by 2, then the I starts from 0. So our current I is lagging behind with the pi by 2 or with the time period of t by 4 from voltage. So current is lagging behind the voltage. And whatever you see in the red curve, it shows the flux. So if you see the yellow curve, then this shows the positive amplitude. Here is the negative amplitude. Both are of equal magnitude. Similarly, here again plus and here again minus. So if you see this yellow curve, then the average of comes out to be 0. So in this we have shown a one complete cycle of voltage and current. And I is lagging behind V, that means the current is lagging behind voltage with pi by 2. So this is how we can show the flux, the voltage, the current, and So this is how we can easily represent. So if we go to the cycle from 0 to 1, then we can see that I is positive. I at 0, it is minimum, that means it is 0, and at 1, it is maximum. It is having, I is having the value 0 at 0, and it is having the value maximum at 1, and it is positive, the current is positive. That means the current will enter into this coil. This is a solenoid, so it will enter from the point A, and it increases from 0 to maximum value. So these flux lines are set up, as you can see the flux lines over here. So flux lines are set up within the coil, and the core of the coil gets magnetized. So there is an increase in the current, current is flowing, coil is getting magnetized, magnetic field lines are set up, magnetic flux is set up. And if you see from 0 to 1, then we can see that our V is positive. The blue line you can see from 0 to 1 is positive. Also the current is positive. The green line you see from 0 to 1 is positive. It goes from 0 to maximum. And the power is given by I into V. So it is positive into positive. That means our power is also positive. That means the energy is absorbed by the source and given to the inductor coil. So energy is absorbed from the source. Then if you come from 1 to 2, then you can see that our from 1 to 2 at 1 it is maximum, and if you see at point 2, then our current is 0. That means the current is decreasing from maximum to 0. But the current is positive, so here the current in the coil is positive and decreasing. Because the current I is decreasing, so the core of the coil gets demagnetized and the net flux becomes 0 at the end of the half cycle. And if you see the cycle from 1 to 2, then you see that our voltage V is negative. But the current I is positive. But since V is equal to L di by dt, that means if V is negative, then di by dt is also negative. And if you see the power, then P is equal to I into V, so negative into positive, so our power is also negative. That means the energy is returned to the source. So whatever the energy that was absorbed by the coil, is returned to the source. So here there is a magnetization, the magnetic flux line you can see are in this direction, and then the current, it becomes minimum. So there is a demagnetization and the magnetic flux lines are in the opposite sides, and the energy that was absorbed from the source is again returned. Now if you go from cycle 2 to 3, then our current becomes negative. I is 0 at point 2 and it is negative at 3. So that means our current is getting negative. That means the current will enter from B. Initially our current was entering from this point A, and then it was flowing to the coil and coming out from B. Now since the direction of the current is reversed, that means now the current will enter from point B, flow through the coil, and it will come out from point A. So the current enters at B and comes out of A, and the direction of the current is changed. So the polarity of the magnet will also change. Whatever was the north pole will become the south pole, and whatever was the south pole will become the north pole. Why? Because the direction of the current is altered, it is reversed, it is changed. So that is how the polarity of the magnet is changed, but it is magnetized. Now if you see that from 2 to 3, our voltage is negative and our current is also negative. So both are negative. That means di upon dt will also be negative. But our power P is equal to IV. So negative into negative will make a positive. So our power is positive. That means the energy is absorbed from the AC source by the coil. So energy is absorbed from the source. Now come to the last cycle, that is 3 to 4. So if you see from 3 to 4, then at 3 the current is negative, and at point 4 the current is 0. So our current is decreasing because it is maximum negative at 3 and 4 it is 0. So our current I is decreasing and it becomes 0 at 4. So our core will get demagnetized. So these are the magnetic flux line. You can see here it is magnetization in 2 to 3 and here it is demagnetization. So our core get demagnetized and the flux is 0. Now if you see the fourth cycle, then our voltage is positive but the current is negative. So our di by dt will also be positive. But our power P is equal to I into V, that is minus into plus, so that will also be negative. That means the energy which was absorbed during the cycle 2 to 3 is now returned to the source. So energy is returned to the source. So if you see overall, then here the current is entering from point A and coming out from point B. There is a flow of magnetic flux lines and the core is getting magnetized and the energy is taken from the AC current source. Now from cycle 1 to 2, the current is decreasing, current becomes 0. So our core starts getting demagnetized and whatever is the energy absorbed is returned to the source and the direction of magnetic flux changes. Again, if you go to 2 to 3, then the direction of the current reverses. Initially the current was positive, now the current is negative in this cycle. So our current will enter from B and come out from A. So the polarity of this magnetic coil changes and magnetic flux line will flow in this direction and our core get magnetized in the opposite direction and the energy is absorbed from the source. Now the last cycle is 3 to 4 where our current decreases from the maximum negative value to the 0. So our core gets demagnetized, eventually the flux becomes 0 and whatever was the energy absorbed in the previous cycle is again returned to the source. So if you see the net energy, then first energy is absorbed and then the similar energy is returned in the second cycle. In the third cycle, energy is again absorbed for the opposite polarity of the poles and the similar energy is returned to the source. So we can say that the net energy is, or the net energy for the complete cycle is 0. So next we'll do about how our AC voltage responds to a capacitor. So here we take AC voltage source. This is our AC voltage source. This shows AC voltage and voltage we are denoting with the symbol E here. And now it is connected to a single capacitor. So this is how we represent the capacitor. If you want to go into the detail of the capacitor, you can refer to our lecture. The link is given below. But as for now, this is a single capacitor. This point we can take as A and this point we can take as B. So our capacitor is connected to a AC voltage and this AC voltage is given by V because it is a AC voltage, so it is sinusoidally varying. So we can easily write down the equation V is equal to Vm sin omega t. Here Vm is the maximum amplitude of the voltage and omega is the angular frequency. So V is equal to Vm sin omega t is the equation of a voltage which is varying sinusoidally, which is an AC voltage. Now first of all, the voltage is given to the capacitor and the capacitor starts charging. Then it is fully charged. Then it also starts getting discharged through the circuit. So this capacitor is alternately charged and discharged. Because this is an alternating voltage, so the current reverses. Whenever it is positive, the capacitor is charging, and whenever it is negative, the capacitor starts discharging. So whenever a capacitor is connected to an AC voltage source, then it is alternately charging and discharging. So let us say that Q is the charge on capacitor at any time t. So small q is the charge on capacitor on any time small t. So the voltage V is given by Q upon C. Now since this is a closed circuit, so we can use Kirchhoff's loop rule. So using Kirchhoff's loop rule, we can easily write down there are only two components. One is the voltage and other is the capacitor. So for the voltage is V and this is minus Q upon C. Because it is drawing the voltage, so it will be minus Q upon C. This is equal to 0 because this is a closed circuit or a closed loop. Or instead of V, we can write on the value. V is equal to Vm sine omega t minus Q upon C is equal to 0. This is one and the same equation. So if we take Q upon C on right hand side, then we'll have Vm sine omega t is equal to Q upon C. Or Q is equal to Vm into C sine omega t. Why we are doing this? Because we want to find out the relation between the voltage and the current, and we want to find out that these are in the same phase or which is lagging behind. So if we know the charge, then we can easily calculate the current. So now we know the value of charge, so we can calculate the current, because you know the equation of current is I is equal to dq upon dt. Current is equal to the change in charge with respect to time. So simply differentiate this q with respect to time. So if we differentiate, what we'll get? Vm is constant and C is constant. And if you differentiate sine omega t, you will have cos omega t multiplied with omega, because d by dt of sine omega t is omega cos omega t. So this is omega Vmc cos omega t. So we have I is equal to omega Vmc cos omega t. So now we want to find out the phase relation between this Vm sine omega t and this I. So now we want to calculate the relation between phase between this V and this I. So V is equal to Vm sine omega t and I is in the form of cos omega t. So we can convert this cos omega t in terms of sine omega t, because plus cos omega t is always sine omega t plus pi by 2. So we can write down I again as omega Vmc and cos omega t is equal to sine omega t plus pi by 2. Okay, because sine omega t plus pi by 2 is cos omega t. So this whole quantity we can write down as Im, or I is equal to Im sine omega t plus pi by 2. So now we have both the equation in sine omega t. V is equal to Vm sine omega t and I is equal to Im sine omega t plus pi by 2. That means I is having plus pi by 2. So I is going above the voltage with a phase difference of pi by 2. And the value of Im is omega Vmc. So here we have substitute Im as omega Vm into C. Or we can write down Im is equal to Vm upon 1 upon omega C, because we want to compare with the Ohm's law. Ohm's law is I is equal to V upon R or V is equal to IR. So if you write it down in this form, then Im is equal to Vm upon 1 upon omega C. So this 1 upon omega C should be equal to some resistance, and this resistance we call as capacitive resistance. So R is the symbol we use for the resistance, that is a common resistor. And for the inductive resistor, we have used XL. X is also the resistance, and L suffix shows that this is inductive resistor. So here we can use the symbol X and we can put C. So this is a capacitive resistance. So all these three are resistance. This is normal resistance, this is inductive resistance, and this is capacitive resistance. So what is the value of capacitive resistance? Simply compare it with I is equal to V upon R. So R is equal to 1 upon omega C. But R we can write down here, XL is equal to 1 upon omega C. This is, so here it is not R, it is capacitive resistance. So XC is equal to 1 upon omega C. and we call it as capacitive resistance. Right? Because here it is playing the role of a resistance, so we call it as a capacitive resistance. So always remember that whenever we are having capacitor, the resistance is X is equal to 1 upon omega C, and whenever you are having R is equal to R, the simple resistance, the inductive resistance is omega L is equal to XL, and capacitive resistance is 1 upon omega C is equal to XC. So these three resistances are only in the picture in AC current. So always remember these three currents. So what we can say, that our V is equal to Vm sin omega t. That is the AC voltage, and I we calculated as Im sin omega t plus pi by 2. That means the voltage is lagging behind the current with pi by 2, or the current is pi by 2 ahead of the voltage. So the current phasor for the I will also be pi by 2 ahead of the voltage phasor V. Right? So now we want to do the phasor for this. So let us see how we'll draw the phasor. So now we have learned how to draw the phasor. It is very easy. First we have to draw the voltage and current, and then we have to draw the amplitude, and then we have to draw the rotation vector. So three things we have to draw, then we call it as a phasor. So for the phasor, we draw a horizontal axis, and then we divide it into three parts, 1, 2 and 3. So here we take the voltage or current, and here we take the angle theta or omega t. So first of all, in the third part, we will draw a cycle of voltage and current. So let us draw the cycle of voltage. So this is what is our voltage V. And then we want to draw the current. So with the blue color we are showing the voltage, and now we want to draw the current. So current is pi by 2 ahead. So go ahead in voltage pi by 2, it is 0 and it is pi by 2. So the current is pi by 2 ahead, that means the current will not start from 0, it will start from maximum. So that is how you can make it pi by 2 ahead. So it will be pi by 2 ahead. So start your current graph from here instead of here. So pi by 2 ahead means it will start like this. Then it will go like. So this green color is our current graph. So this green color is our current graph. So write down I here. So in this way we can see that V is pi by 2 ahead, or I is pi by 2 ahead, or both are in the same phase, and we can draw these. And we can draw this voltage and current graph. So here this corresponds, the blue corresponds to, here you can see that this is the maximum, draw the maximum value of the voltage and show it like this. So this is the maximum value of the voltage, and then here it is 0, it is pi, then 2 pi, and so on. And you want to draw here, this is the value of the voltage, and this vector shows Vm sin omega t1 at any instant t1. So say that this is any instant, and similarly you can draw for the current, that this is the maximum value of the current. This is the maximum value of the current. So here you can draw. So this corresponds to Im sin omega t1 plus pi by 2. This instant t1, we want to show that at any instant this current is always ahead pi by 2. So if you take any instant, say this instant, if you take this instant, if you take an omega t1, then at this instant the current I is pi by 2 ahead of the voltage. So this is Vm sin omega t1, then this will be Im sin omega t1 plus pi by 2. So two graphs are drawn very easily. Just draw the cycle for the voltage, then see the phase difference, draw the cycle for the current, then take the maximum amplitude and draw the vectors for voltage and current. And now we have to draw the rotating vectors, that is the phasor. So we want to first draw what the voltage. So voltage we draw like this because it's a rotating vector. So this is the rotating vector for the voltage and we write it down as capital V. And now you want to see the current I. So if I is behind at pi by 2, you draw it like this. Now it is ahead because if it is going like this, that is in the clockwise direction, and if it is ahead, then it will be in the anti-clockwise direction. So make this a rule that when voltage is by default, we draw it like this. So when the current I is behind pi by 2, then you have to draw the vector in clockwise pi by 2 direction. And if the I is ahead pi by 2 of the voltage, then you have to draw in the anti-clockwise direction of pi by 2. So initially for the inductor, I was behind pi by 2, so we have drawn it like this. But here it is ahead, the current is ahead of the voltage with pi by 2. So here we will draw it in the anti-clockwise direction. I hope the reason is clear to you. So if you go pi by 2 in the anti-clockwise direction, that means it will be somewhat here. So this is our I, and this angle will always be pi by 2 because this is pi by 2 ahead, and this angle is omega t1 because V is at an instant, V is at angle omega t1. So this is how we can easily draw the phasor diagram. So this is a phasor diagram for a capacitor connected with a AC source. And this phasor diagram we have drawn at any instant t1. So this is how easily we can draw the phasor diagram. And if our current I is ahead with pi by 2 from the voltage, then how much it is ahead in the time period. So just draw a complete cycle like this. Then this is 0, this is pi by 2, this is pi, this is 3 pi by 2, and this is 2 pi. This is a complete cycle. So here it is pi by 2 and here it is 3 pi by 2. So what we need is pi by 2. So if this area is pi by 2 ahead, that means from the complete cycle it is 1 by 4. So we can say that in the time period I is ahead by a t by 4 from the voltage V. So that is how we connect the phase and the time period. Now we have to calculate the power supplied to the capacitor. So the power which is given to the capacitor is I into V. That is the formula for the power. And now we know the equation. I is equal to Im cos omega t or sin omega t plus pi by 2, and V is Vm sin omega t. So we can write it down as Im into Vm, then cos omega t into sin omega t. And there are two trigonometric functions, so we know this rule that 2 sin omega t cos omega t is equal to sin 2 omega t. So this rule of trigonometry we will apply here in this equation, and what we will get is that the power supplied to the capacitor is Im Vm upon 2 sin 2 omega t, simply by applying this relation to the equation. So this is the power supplied. Now we can also calculate the average power. So to calculate the average power, which may be written as this. So we have to take the average of Im Vm upon 2 sin 2 omega t. So Im is a constant and Vm is a constant, the maximum amplitude of the current and the voltage. Then we have to take the average of only sin 2 omega t. And over a complete cycle, the sine to omega t is always 0. So the average power given to the capacitor is 0 by a AC current source or a AC voltage source. Because sine 2 omega t average is always 0 for a complete cycle. So similarly, we can draw a complete cycle of voltage and current where I is leading with V. So just to draw the complete cycle, we have to do like this. So here we have drawn a complete cycle of voltage and current where I is leading with the voltage. So in the blue color, you can see the voltage at 0 goes to maximum, then become minimum, maximum negative, and then again 0. So that is a complete cycle of voltage corresponding to the capacitor. And then with the green color, you can see the current. So current is already pi by 2 ahead. That means it will start from here. So it goes like minimum 0, then maximum negative, then 0, and maximum positive. So this green curve shows one complete cycle of the current, and the red one is given for the charge. And if you see the power corresponding, then the power you can see in the yellow parts we have shown for the power. Then it is the positive amplitude and it is equal to the negative here, then one more positive and it is equal to the second negative. So in this way the average power comes out to be 0. So this is how easily we can draw a complete cycle for the voltage and the current for a AC voltage source connected to a capacitor. Now we will study all these steps one by one from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. So let us begin with 0 to 1. For 0 to 1, we will draw a voltage source, that is a AC voltage source, and then we are connecting one capacitor to this. So this is a capacitor and it is connected to a AC voltage source. So the current will flow like this. So this is the positive and this is the negative plate of the capacitor. So for 0 to 1, we can say that the voltage goes from 0 to maximum positive and the current flows from maximum to 0. So the current I flows from maximum to 0 at 1. So the current I, it starts from maximum at 0 and it goes to minimum at 0.1. As you can see from this graph, so the current is maximum at 0 and it is minimum at 0.1. Here it is 0. So if this plate we call as A of the capacitor and this plate we call as B, so we can see that the plate A is charged to positive polarity and the negative charge builds up at the plate B and it reaches to maximum at 1. So in the first 0 to 1 cycle, you can see that the voltage is positive as well as the current is positive. So from 0 to 1, as you can see in the graph, voltage is positive and the current is positive. So if you calculate the power, because P is equal to I into V, so this will also be positive. So that means the energy is absorbed from the source, that is the AC voltage source, during this cycle and the capacitor is charged. Now we go to the second cycle that goes from 1 to 2. So as you go from 1 to 2, then you can see that the voltage is maximum, then it goes at 0.2, it is minimum. And also the current is 0 at 1 and it becomes maximum negative at 2. So the current is changing its direction because from 0 to 1 the current is positive, but from 1 to 2 the current is negative. So the current has reversed its direction. So now the current is reverse the direction. That means the capacitor is discharged. Now the current will flow away from the capacitor. So the direction of current will be like this. Initially the capacitor was charging and now the capacitor is discharging. So the capacitor is discharged during this cycle from 1 to 2 and the voltage is reduced but the voltage is positive. voltage gets from maximum positive to 0, but it is positive. The voltage has not changed the direction. So we can say that at point 1, I is minimum and I is minimum means 0 and I is negative at 2. That means the current has reversed the direction. So the capacitor will discharge. So here you can see that the voltage gets from maximum to 0, but it is positive and the current becomes negative. So if you see the power, so power P is equal to I into V. So plus into minus, that means the power will be negative. That means the energy is absorbed during the cycle 0 to 1 is returned during the cycle. So from cycle 0 to 1, the energy is absorbed from the source, and from cycle 1 to 2, the energy absorbed is returned. I hope the cycles 0 to 1 and 1 to 2 are clear to you, because that only decided by the direction of current. Here the current is in the positive direction, it is given to the capacitor, capacitor is charging. From 1 to 2, direction of the current is reversed, capacitor is discharging, so energy absorbed is given back. Now we go from 2 to 3. So here our current is negative as well as the voltage is negative. So as you can see, from 2 to 3, the current is going from maximum negative to 0. That means the current is getting from negative to positive. But the current is continuous to flow. So from 2 to 3, the current is flowing from A to B and the capacitor is charged, but with the opposite polarity. So we see that I is negative at 2 and it becomes minimum positive at 3. So the current flows from A to B and the capacitor is charged with the reverse polarity. Plate B is positive and now A gets negative charge because the current is negative. So the plate A will have negative charge. So as you can see in the third cycle, V is negative and I is also negative. So our power will be negative into negative will always be positive. So P is equal to IV is positive. So that means the energy is absorbed by the capacitor during this cycle. Because the source is giving the energy and the energy is given to the capacitor. So the energy is absorbed by the capacitor during this cycle. Now come to the last one, that is 3 to 4. So as you can see, from 3 to 4, the current has reversed its direction. At 3, the current is 0 and before that it is negative, and after 3 it is positive. So from 3 to 4, at point 3, the current has reversed its direction and then it will flow from B to A, because initially it is flowing from A to B and now it will flow from B to A. So that means the current will flow out of the capacitor and our capacitor is discharged. So whatever is the accumulated charge, that is depleted from the capacitor and the voltage VC is reduced. So the voltage VC, it is negative and then it becomes 0 at 4 and the capacitor is fully discharged. So here you can see that the current I is positive but the voltage V is negative. So P will also be negative. So now the current has reversed the direction. That means it will be coming out of the capacitor. Then at I is minimum, it is 0 at point 3 and then it is gets maximum at point 4. And here our I is positive but our V is negative. So P is also negative because P is equal to I into V. So minus into plus will be minus. So our power is also negative. So whatever the energy absorbed in the cycle 2 to 3 is now returned to the source. So what we can see that from 0 to 1 the energy is absorbed from the source by the capacitor. In cycle 1 to 2 it is again returned. 2 to 3 the energy is again absorbed by the capacitor with the opposite polarity. And in the last cycle 3 to 4 the energy absorbed is always returned to the source. So what we can say that the net energy absorbed is 0. So this you have seen this in all these 4 cycles, how the charging and discharging of the capacitor takes place in the cycle, and this shows a complete cycle, this is a complete graphical, and this is a complete mathematical representation of how the capacitor charging and discharging takes place. So that's all for today. If you like this lecture, then like and share and subscribe to our channel Physics Class so that you can continuously receive notifications for more such interesting lectures. Thank you.